Well, it says I'm live. Welcome to the home studio. I even bought a little plant and a flower there. How do you like that? Uh, I apologize tonight. We're not going to go extraordinarily long. We're not doing the hour-long show tonight. Also, because the software is crashing again. I don't know why we pay the 40 or 50 bucks a month for this crap. I should just go back to the studio where it works on the iPad. But we are in the home studio, and I appreciate you all. The Pittsburgh Penguins rally to win 3-2 on Sunday night over the Columbus Blue Jackets at Nationwide Arena. Boy, Columbus is a lot better team than we anticipated, aren't they? I mean, they just looked like a pretty good team. That's not the crap fest that we saw for most of the season. I mean, is it? That's really not. They are a really, really good team, I thought. And it certainly has to make them feel a lot better when you've got Merzlikins making the saves that he makes. You've got Patrick Laine and Roslovic playing as well as they have. And look, I think the screen's a little bit dingy. No, anyway, I can't see my cleaning cloth. Let me see if I can find it here. See, you have to understand, on game nights, I literally don't stop. I sit down and I hit play. Is kind of how this rolling show works. Like I said, we're not doing too long tonight because the software there a little bit cleaner, a little bit clearer. Anyway, so what did you think of the Penguins game tonight? Huh? I'm a little bit in awe of sometimes how the players do these little turnarounds, because I was wiped out yesterday, completely and totally wiped out. I don't know if you saw Pittsburgh hockey. Now I wrote about 4,000 words within a couple or a few hours after the game. The Kasperi Kapanen shift diary, which was both well received and hated. We did the post game, the report card. I couldn't do any post-game videos from PPG Paints Arena because ESPN had all of their stuff kind of on my landing where I normally do that. Obviously, I've also teased you a little bit. There are two teams that have scouted the last several Penguins games. One team had their assistant general manager at the previous two home games, and one team scouted the last few games, including tonight in Columbus. But I'm going to make you hang on because I'm an evil person. Evil. Let's talk a little bit about the Penguins game. One, I was a little bit heartened to see Kasperi Kapanen have the kind of game he did tonight. Let me take a look here at his stats. And by the way, because the software crashed, I can't show you pictures of Kapanen and such like I ordinarily would be able to. Let's see here. Kapanen. I know he had 2 shots in the first period. He only had 2 shots on the game. He actually didn't have another attempt. Actually, I think that's wrong, because Kapanen went to the net later. Okay, so Kapanen didn't get credit for one of his shots, or maybe it was deflected or whatever such stuff happens with scorekeepers. I thought Kapanen played a strong game, actually. If I had to grade him on the non-Kasperi Kapanen scale, I'd probably give him a solid B+, if not an A-. I love those back checks. He springs Evan Rodriguez on a breakaway. He took the puck to the net. He crashed to the end wall. He didn't tiptoe back there. He didn't glide back there to say, oh, well, I was here. He got back there. He got in position, and he fought for the puck. And that was maybe, I think, the most stinging thing that I wrote Saturday evening, was that his game lacked any sort of purpose or passion. Look, I can't discount the fact that maybe he read that, and hey, if that fueled him a little bit, you're all welcome. I tend to think not, but I have had similar experiences in the past where a player may have referenced a little something that they took motivation from. But I think that's one game to build on. Kapanen does get the assist. I thought Mark Friedman was really good both Saturday and Sunday. He's got to be licking his chops right now. I can't talk too far out of school, right? I mean, there are just sometimes, it's a personal interaction or things you see or hear or all of that kind of stuff. Friedman, he referenced it tonight in his postgame. It's not always easy sitting out. And no, I mean, he's a guy that really wants to be in the lineup. He's starting to feel like he's at that age where it's now or never. his chance with the Penguins has been star-crossed. I mean, you talk about bad luck with some of the Penguins' depth defensemen. Juuso Riikola gets his big shot, injured 2 games later. Last season, Mark Friedman gets his big shot, and his former team, the Philadelphia Flyers, just ran him over until they knocked him out of the game. So, he kind of missed his big chance last year, too. He's going to get it with Mike Matheson out. Maybe. Now, here's where I'm going to I guess I'm going to give up the ghost or give up the secret. The team that sent their assistant general manager to check out the last couple of Penguins home games, and I don't believe he was there tonight in Columbus, the Buffalo Sabres sent Jason Karmanos to Pittsburgh. I mean, he knows the way, and he was there. That's kind of on the heels a couple weeks ago, I guess, when I guess that's a different team. Jason Botterill no longer works for the Sabres. Scratch that. But Buffalo checking out the Penguins with some heavy-duty eyes. The last couple or a few games as well, the Anaheim Ducks have been scouting the Pittsburgh Penguins, or maybe they're scouting Columbus. Maybe they were scouting the Rangers and Columbus. You just never know, right? Now, I want some likes and I want some subscriptions for dishing that little bit of info. Teams hate when we do that. They despise when we give up the scouts there or, AGMs. Some teams take great pains to hide it. And I've this season been kind of respecting that. I think we're at the time of the year, though, when you see an assistant general manager in the building, you're allowed to say, hey, I saw the assistant manager or assistant general manager. I guess I'm like Karen. I'd like to speak to your manager, please. So tomorrow on Pittsburgh Hockey Now, maybe later on tonight, depending on how fast I type and how late you are up, we're going to talk about those two teams, both the Anaheim Ducks and the Buffalo Sabres, because both have pieces and parts that could improve and could alter the trajectory of this Pittsburgh Penguins lineup. So there, I didn't make you wait too long. It's not even 9:20, or I guess it's almost 9:24 yet. Okay, I only made you wait about 8 minutes before giving it up. Like I said, let me see some likes down there. I see viewers. Now I want likes. Tom says Burke was there for the Pens. Yes. Christopher, hey, Christopher, how are you? If they win 80% of the foot races, it masks a lack of ability to win puck battles. Still feels soft. Christopher, I know why you say that. I'm not going to entirely disagree with you, but I'm not going to entirely agree with you either. The Penguins lineup is kind of a hodgepodge of grit and 10-ply. I mean, look, depending on how Kasperi Kapanen is playing, let's take the Saturday night game against the Rangers, which was a gritty, physical sort of game. That Malkin line was obviously was soft with Heinen and Kapanen. You noticed in the shift diary that I had Kapanen losing several 50-50 or even better puck battles, that he didn't just really get in there and get after it. Okay. Tonight, I don't think that there was much call, but I thought, Kapanen played a lot grittier and tougher on the puck. And but Heinen is not going to be a guy who is, who wins all of those puck battles. So there's some wingers that aren't as hard as maybe the Penguins would like or you would like. But of course, you've got that top line with Jake Gensel and Brian Rust that seems to win every puck battle. That even the 90 or the 1090s, when they only got a 10% shot, they seem to come out of the scrums with those, very much like Sidney Crosby outnumbered against the New York Rangers did on Saturday when he got that puck surrounded by 2, maybe 3 penalty killers. Tapped it over to Brian Rust, who zipped it over to Evgeny Malkin for the game winner. That little, Sullivan was right, that just kind of created a little space for Brian Rust there by winning that puck battle. And I think the fourth line, for as maligned as you all are, or as Dominic Simone is from you all, I mean, as much as you all malign him, that dude is a rugger just gets under the crowd and the pile and comes out with the puck. I thought they played pretty well tonight. Even Zach Aston Reese had a couple of shots on goal. He is another person, I think, Christopher, you're talking about. He doesn't seem like a hard player. And it's kind of a juxtaposition because Aston Reese leads the team in hits. He's among the NHL leaders in hits, but you're right, he doesn't deliver that resounding thump. I'd like to see Zach begin to think a bit more offense. He and I have had the conversation I've shared with you. We've written about it, and he's talked about it publicly, that when he's playing in the fourth line, he zones in on being a fourth liner. And to him, that means make sure the other team doesn't score. To him, that means get the puck in deep and cycle it, create some possession and pressure. But that doesn't necessarily mean to him try to score. And so it's a little bit of a mental construct for Zach Aston Reese that he doesn't do more. I mean, he had 9 goals last year in 49 games. I know he had 9 goals, whether it was 49 games, 54 games, whatever it was. He was on pace for literally a 16-goal season. He was putting the puck in the net last year, but this year he really has kind of reverted to that focus of making sure he's not scored upon. Having said all of that, specific to the game in Columbus, I thought the Penguins brought their B-plus game for the second of back-to-backs for a non-playoff opponent, for a team that didn't really – Columbus played very well. But Columbus didn't pull the extracurricular activities. Columbus didn't get the Penguins' juices flowing like the Rangers did. Although, actually, I think it was Evgeny Malkin who got the juices flowing on Saturday when he gave Rooney a good little whack, just a little, a little whip to the back of the legs with the blade. and that was the first time that the hell tried to break loose. Either way, the Penguins' juices weren't really flowing tonight. And they played a professional, workman-like game. Still far too many of these odd man breaks. I honest to God, I have never seen a team, even when they're playing well, give up so many odd man rushes. It's almost just a fact of life at this point. I'm not sure the mindset can be reset. Maybe that should be one of Mike Sullivan's new expressions. We have to reset the mindset. Because in months gone past, the Penguins at the blue line would make the simple play. They would advance the puck, get it to dead space, and go retrieve it. They would pull it back. Now, they're, and this is kind of the Malkin effect, right? Even though he's not even on the ice, it changes the mindset, and everybody's trying to make a better play. Everyone thinks they're a better hockey player than they really are. Sometimes that's a bad thing. It's not necessarily confidence. It is, trying to play that wheel and deal game, the running gun, globetrotter, whatever you want to call it. And away they go. Like tonight, the 2-on-1, John Marino pinched right beside Brian Rust. I mean, they had to see each other. They were side by side. All 4 Penguins crashing to the net. Jake Gensel's pass is deflected, and away Columbus goes. Gensel also has to recognize. I mean, right there's 2 mistakes, right? The first mistake is either Marino or Rust, kind of crashing to the net in the slot. Marino actually made the first step first, but he also has to realize that Rust is looping up and through there and maybe not make that play. But Jake Gensel has to see that there's now 4 Penguins within feet of the net, or 3 Penguins, not counting himself. There's now 4 Penguins below the dots. He can't miss that pass. He can't put it into traffic. He actually has to hold that puck. He has to put it behind the net. He has to get a shot on goal, anything but throwing the puck into the slot. Anything but a pass that can be intercepted, deflected. You put it into traffic, bad things happen. So those are the things those are the decisions the Penguins are not making, the good decisions the Penguins are not making. Let me get back here to the comments. Guess I'm a staunch believer in wearing down D on a hard forecheck. I think the Penguins are too. I think you saw Kasperi Kapanen and the third line. I think you saw Evan Rodriguez crashing in there on the forecheck tonight. Maybe it's not as hard as it was 2 months ago. It's not as hard as it was in December, right? But it's getting there. They're getting back to that time. Right? They're getting back to it. Maybe. These are two games that you have to like after two stinkers, I thought. I didn't like their game against Carolina. I know Mike Sullivan said, well, took a lot of positives from it. I didn't like it at all. I thought they yielded the meaty part of the ice to Carolina when they really should have just lowered their head like a fullback and taken it from the Hurricanes. And so from that, I didn't grade them very well, not nearly as well as everybody else did. So Christopher, I think from past discussions, you and I are usually similar pages. You and I like the tougher hockey, Western Canadian style, and I'm all about that. LT, there are times Penguins go for drive-by pickle stab instead of finishing the check. You had to work pickle stabber in there, huh? Yeah, I think that's part of the mindset reset that the Penguins are in the process of going through. That they know they can score a quick strike. They know they can score pretty goals. They know they can do all of these things, and they want to do them. I also don't think a lot of the wingers are really the guy who's going to put the opponent through the glass on the end wall or the mid wall. So there's a little bit of a personnel thing there too, LT. But yeah, not quite the right use of pickle stabber, but I know what you mean. Robert, I wish Sully would go back to pairs. I've noticed that too, by the way. We can talk about that. And move 17 or 59 to Malkin's line. Not sure how they continue to win as one line and a power play team. No, that's a very salient point, very cogent. They can't. Well, they can win in the regular season like that, but you cannot win in the playoffs with one line and a power play because you're only going to get one or two power plays per game in the playoffs. That's just how it works. And everyone's like, well, in 2016, Phil Kessel had all these power play points. That was 1 year. And that was the year the Penguins really upset the apple cart of the NHL. The Penguins with just oppressive speed. They were so much faster than everyone else that year. They were it became so much momentum the Penguins had. That confidence began that in March that year anyway. I'm going to get off on a tangent. But getting back to this, you're right. They can't win with one team. So longtime hockey person that I trust sat with me in the press box on Saturday. And we talked far too much. He also helped with the Kapanen shift diary. Some other smart people, Robert, have also suggested 17 to Malkin's line. That has been a new thing with Sullivan this year. He no longer seems to be going with pairs, but he has been going with trios. And trying to get that Zucker, Malkin, Kapanen, that Heinen, Malkin, Kapanen trio to work. And Carter and Rodriguez with whatever left wing is healthy. and keeping that fourth line together as well. He has been rolling trios. I mean, it's kind of funny when he's working the duos. The chat is full of people. He should be working on lines of three so they have chemistry. Now that he's working lines of three, everyone's like, well, I'll go back to duos. A coach can't win with line combinations. A coach just cannot win. It's like an umpire on the calling a strike on the black part of home plate. You just can't win. Half the people see it one way, the other half the people see it the other way, and all the home fans see it the way they need to see it. Christopher says DeBrusque makes sense on any level. Oh, you're talking about Jake DeBrusque. They've dealt before, team control, etc. Not sure it's a good idea, but young and harder nosed. Well, I didn't really plan on diving into too much trade talk tonight, but since you've brought it up, I don't see Jake DeBrusque being dealt to the Penguins anyway in season. And here's why. DeBrusque is not a hard-nosed player, believe it or not. The player that you and I saw a few years ago in the playoffs, Christopher, hasn't really existed for the Boston Bruins. And that's why he's been in and out of the lineup. That's why he's kind of been in trouble. That's why he's been on the periphery and fringe and on the trade block, is because he went from a power forward to 10 ply. He really did. Why? Who knows? You know, that kid in the goofy Elmer Fudd hat, missing his teeth, is smiling through the playoffs. It was awesome. He hasn't been that same player since. So, no, I don't see the and also, by the way, our intel on that said the Bruins wanted an attractive trade package. They wanted someone to pay for the best version of DeBrusque, which when a team is doing that, just forget it, right? A team wants to sell high on a player that isn't high. Let me rephrase that. A team wants to sell high on a player who's not at the top of his game. I make no claims to DeBrusque's sobriety or anything else. You get what I'm saying, though. And when a team wants, that's a way for the team to come back to the player and say, look, man, no one wants you. Play hard for us. Go back to playing hard for us and see how it goes. Now, because for those of you just joining us, the software has crashed. It's just me straight on with you again. And look at the pretty flower. Let's talk a little bit. I think most of you are kind of moving past this game already. Matt, how about Jim Rutherford's boys spanking the Rangers? Oh, I didn't see that game tonight. I'll have to check out Vancouver hockey now. Rob Simpson's on his first road trip with the Vancouver Canucks. So he's in New York City with them. Maybe I should make a run up to New York City tomorrow. That'd be kind of fun, actually. I have not been to New York City since February of 2020. Yes, literally, as COVID is spreading around, I'm in New York City. And I just adore New York City. Like, look, I wanted a cheesesteak for dinner in the worst way. I was just craving it. I wanted a good cheesesteak. There are a few places in Pittsburgh that actually have them. I love Pepe's. Pepe's is closed on Sunday. Other places, they close at like 2:00. I mean, come on. So actually, I had to pay $30, and I'm not bragging that I spent a ridiculous amount on DoorDash to get a little greasy spoon in Brighton Road, kind of almost Emsworth, to deliver, because I was just out of time. I didn't have time to run all the way down there and get back for the Penguins game, et cetera, et cetera. That's what Pittsburgh drives me nuts with food choices and people closing. I go to New York City if I'm hungry at 3 a.m. when I finally finish my last article. I can stumble out and I can look left or look right and pick my pizza place, and I have a good dinner at 3 a.m. and a beer usually too. Getting back to Vancouver and the Rangers, I think anytime the Rangers lose, that's good news for the Penguins. You do not want to see the Penguins get that wild card. You do not want to see the Penguins in that top or even second wild card, because that's almost certain death. If the Penguins have to take on the Carolina Hurricanes or one of the Florida teams in the first round, Goodbye. It's over. The Penguins, as they sit, are not better than either of the Florida teams. I don't think they're better than Carolina. I think they might be able to, if Tristan Jarry plays out of his head, has one of those kind of series that he's capable of, actually, then I think the Penguins could get by Carolina. But in a 7-game series, Carolina is deep. They are fast. They're talented. And Freddie Anderson is a good playoff goalie. Anderson just in Toronto would always make one cataclysmic mistake. He had Fleury disease. He'd make one mistake and the Maple Leafs would crumble and everyone blamed Anderson. They didn't blame the team for crumbling. I think in the low lights of Carolina, Freddie Anderson's going to be a whale of a playoff goalie. And I think the Penguins can beat the Rangers in a 7-game series a whole lot easier. And hey, who knows? Maybe Carolina takes the foot off the gas. If the Penguins keep winning, they can catch Carolina and they can draw the Capitals in the first round. I don't know if you're watching the Washington Capitals. I've been hinting at it in the Dan's Daily and the morning links that we do on Pittsburgh hockey. Now the Capitals stink. The Capitals just suck out loud. Their bottom 6 has collapsed. The back end of their defense is not good enough. All those former Penguins, now look like the reason they were the former Pittsburgh Penguins. So, the Capitals are fading and they're struggling. And GM Brian McClellan is banging on doors. The guy that I think the Penguins and the Washington Capitals might compete over on the NHL trade market is Artturi Lehkonen. I really like what Lehkonen's doing in Montreal. In fact, they might even just try to keep him around. Let's be honest. They've won 5 straight now up there in Montreal. Suddenly, they're Stanley Cup contenders again. I'm being a little bit facetious, but that stale wind has cleaned things out of Montreal. So who knows what they're going to do? I do think Jeff Petrie will still be available. He's playing really well now under Marty St. Louis behind the bench. Who knew? I think it was Ken Campbell when they fired Ducharme and hired Martin St. Louis. Ken Campbell, tongue in cheek on Twitter, said, no word yet on who will replace St. Louis with his town's 13U team. Yes, Montreal just hired a Pee-wee coach. Well, St. Louis is doing pretty well. I think they needed that. I don't know how it changes their trade. I don't, Jeff Gorton and Kent Hughes trade thinking. I do think they sent a public love letter via Pierre LeBrun to Chris Letang earlier this week. By the way, did you? I pretty much tied them together. When Montreal lets it be known through leaked reporting, I love when teams give us those little scoops. By the way, haven't gotten one of those in a while. Hextall does things a little bit differently. That this summer the Canadiens really want to make a free agent splash. Like, well, gee, who's that going to be? Anywho, okay, let me get back to the chats here. Nebraska 4-0 Vancouver in the third. Christopher wants Manson. You are not alone on that, Christopher. Are you sure you're not the guy I was sitting with in the press box? Yeah, well, there's Manson in Anaheim. There's also some guy named Nick Delorier. Now, that would shuffle the Penguins' fourth line just a little bit. It might put Zach Aston Reese or Dominic Simone on the bench. They're playing really well. I don't care what you say about them. Take a look at the end result. When the fourth line gets the puck in the offensive zone and gets it deep, that allows the first line to jump on the ice with an offensive zone possession, or on the ice with a short ice. That's a really good thing, and that fourth line does a lot of it. But I think Nick Delorier can play some hockey too. And if the Rangers or Carolina or Actually, I think it might be most effective against Carolina because Carolina doesn't have one of those kind of players. Carolina doesn't have a thumper. So if Nick Delorier wants to go all Tom Wilson on Carolina, hey, look, that can change a playoff series. I mean, look at what Tom Wilson did to the New York Rangers organization in one game. In one game, Tom Wilson cost Jeff Gordon his job. He, they cleaned house in New York. And that one game when Wilson assaulted Panarin and just ran roughshod over them, that was it. I mean, Tom Wilson ended tenures in New York. So if Nick Delorier can do that for the Penguins, I think that would be something that Brian Burke would get his truculence. I think so. I can't see your name there. Ruzigrad. I don't remember us being top favorites when we won back to back. Well, yes. Don't forget the March of the Penguins in 2016, Ruzigrad. By the end of March, the Penguins had lost, one game? They steamrolled through everybody, and the league was watching them going, uh-oh. So whether or not they were betting favorites, I can't recall. In 2017, they were certainly betting favorites. Everyone was afraid to bet against those Penguins. They were tired, they were beaten, they were weary. They refused to lay down on the mat, and they just kept finding ways to win. By the way, how about the Smith and Friedman? I came in late. Maybe you already mentioned them. I did right at the top of the show, Rusigrad, but yes, we can go back to that since we're 30 minutes into it. I thought Casey DeSmith he looked like Casey DeSmith, from previous years. The guy who came into the season with a .921 career save percentage. I thought DeSmith was solid. He wasn't given, there were a couple bouncy rebounds, but, I think to pick on those would be nitpicky. He was good. He was really good, in fact. I mean, look, he outdueled Elvis Merzlikins. Not Carolina. Columbus got 34 shots on goal. Let me check the natural stat trick here. Let me update it. I know the Penguins had a pretty good scoring chance advantage. Columbus closed it later in the third period. DeSmith faced 7 high danger chances and 18 scoring chances. Columbus had 6, 6, and 6 throughout the game. The Penguins had 22 overall, but still a solid performance. And yeah, it's kind of fun to watch a guy like Mark Friedman, isn't it? I mean, I don't know how. I know that I watch games differently than you. I watch for storylines. I'm not so concerned about the end result as I am about the process and storylines. When a guy like Friedman, who really wants to be in there in the worst sort of way, gets in to the lineup and then just grabs the bull by the horns like he's done the last couple of games. I mean, look, being dropped in against the New York Rangers is not an easy task. New York is fast. New York is good. He held his ground. He even pinched a couple of times. He's a little more conservative. Tonight against the Columbus Blue Jackets, he went for it. I mean, in that first period, he stormed the net 3 times. Each time, he was, in fact, covered. Covered by the Penguins. The F3 would cycle high, and they were on it. It's good to see a guy, any guy, right? Whether it be Juuso Riikola, Radim Zohorna, any of the older guys who are running out of real estate on the runway, get a chance and play well. I enjoy that. And not being in the locker room is kind of crappy because those are the guys that I would always make friends with. Those are the guys I would kind of go over and sidle up to and talk about the game or whatever it might be. Only because I know they're watching intently and they're watching closely. And sometimes they give you more honest answers because it's not always on the record or it's just part of a conversation. Let's see here. Losing Letang, that's a big issue that the locals like to believe. I would put losing Letang right now at 60-40. Probably should say 70-30, maybe even 80-20, but I'm going to say 60-40. Dumoulin has been making too many mistakes lately, or does it seem that way because they all end up in the back of the net? No, LT, I don't know if I've talked about this enough. I've kind of written it in the post, in the report cards. If you don't subscribe, please do that. Please hop on to PHN Plus and get your subscription. In fact, here is the link. But yes, Brian Dumoulin has been walked, turned around, and given up more pucks in the last 6 weeks than he has at any point in his career, maybe more so in the last 6 weeks than the last 4 years combined. He's been rough, actually. I leaned over to my colleague yesterday, and I said, he's trending more Rob Scuderi as the days go by. Brian Dumoulin is not an effective, or he's not essentially, he's not a very fast skater. He's a decent enough skater. He's not fast. And so if he loses a step, let's say his knee is hurt, or let's say he has a leg injury, ankle injury, or lower body, whatever it might be, and he can't really get 100% on the blades. Or if he's getting a little older, getting a little run down because he's played a lot. He plays with Chris Letang. He plays a lot of hockey. If he's starting to lose a step here at, is it 30 or 31? We had this discussion a couple of weeks ago, 30 or 30, whatever it is. If he's starting to have that little bit of a slowdown, it's going to be very noticeable on Brian Dumoulin. Aaron asks 60% that 58 gets moved. No, not he. I would be hard pressed to see Chris Letang traded, but 60% that they don't re-sign him. That's just kind of my gut feeling of where it is right now. I would have told you, there's no replacements out there. I don't know how the Penguins are going to pull this off. That's why I wrote a few weeks ago that Jeff Petrie would be an ideal trade get, because while he's not quite in Chris Letang's stratosphere, he is a guy with a deep blue line who could play top line minutes. And there aren't many on the market. There really, really, really aren't. There's nobody, actually. Not right-handed defensemen. Teams hold on to those guys. John Klingberg being the exception, and someone's going to throw $10 million at John Klingberg. Matt says, Friedman always looked good on the ice in Lehigh when I lived there and had season tickets. Yeah, look, Hextall liked him enough. That was Hextall's first move, don't forget. His first move as Penguins GM was to claim Mark Friedman off waivers from the Flyers. Need to do a trade deadline chat, about to explode with questions. Oh, believe me, we shall. I have to get back into the studio. I should apologize a little bit because National Hockey Now has been keeping me so extraordinarily busy. We are going first week of April, so we're about a month away now. I'm getting antsy. We decided to wait till after the trade deadline to do it. We are going big time. We are going to have a brand new platform, all of the sites on one app. You can set your app to give you all Pittsburgh Penguins news or league news. We're talking to some national columnists who you know very well. Those guys don't come cheap. We are going to have one subscription. You pay your money for Pittsburgh Hockey Now, and you get everybody. Or if you subscribe to Colorado, Boston, San Jose, wherever you're joining us from, if you subscribe to one site, you get everybody. And it's not log in to 15 different sites. It's a singular login. You pop in and boom. And all the sites are going to be kind of housed on one big website. So you can come to your local site like Pittsburgh Hockey Now, or you can go to National Hockey Now and see everybody's breaking news and everybody's trade chatter, and really get an immersive hockey experience. I regret that we're only in half of the NHL right now. Um, we had another city coming on, signed contract, and then the writer disappeared. Like, we see him on Twitter, we see him covering games, and he literally just stopped taking everybody's calls. So we terminated the contract. It was kind of the weirdest thing. It was just like, and Aaron says, "Take my money, Dan." I will be happy to, Aaron. And tell you what, here, Aaron, use this code and get a discount. You'll get a discount there on your PHN Plus subscription. But we are cannonballing into the deep end. This little crazy thing. I mean, look, I was a nighttime radio guy 4 years ago. I hate to say it, but I kind of was blogging, and you all just took it and ran with it. You've helped me mow down competition, one after the next, and obstacles, and you all have kind of just pushed us forward. And holy cow! I mean, honest to God, I might even buy a house. I don't really want to take care of a house, but I might buy a house because of you all. Although I'll probably buy I'll buy a stupid sports car before a house, probably. I'm done with the watch purchases for a while. Let's see here. Dolphin87. How do you think the possibility of Letang going affects P.O. Joseph is handled? I think I get your question there. Any chance they move Joseph if they think Letang is gone in the summer? Why would you move Joseph if Letang is gone? I'm not following your thinking on that one, big guy. Those are separate issues. Yeah, let's. How do I say this? By the way, we're doing this chat here. I said I was going to do 30 minutes. We're already at 42. I don't think I've taken a breath. I haven't finished my coffee. I don't know that P.O. Joseph is as highly thought of by the new regime as he was of the old regime here in Pittsburgh. I'm not saying he's out of favor. I'm not saying they're sour on P.O. But I am saying maybe the new folks don't think as highly of P.O. as the old folks did. So I do believe if the Penguins have a big fish they believe can help them and believe would stick around, they're not going to trade P.O. Joseph for a rental. I do believe that Joseph is a prospect they would consider parting with for the right deal. And that's, I guess, that's my gut feeling. I've not been told that specifically. I know some teams really like P.O. I was told by a Metro Division scout that, oh, we'd love a crack at P.O. It would never happen because they wouldn't deal him to us, but we think we think he's really good. So, P.O. has been polarizing since he was in juniors. He just is that kind of player. You see the world in potential, or you see the world of mistakes, or whatever else might be going on in this game. I think he's actually been too conservative over the last year, trying to prove that he doesn't make those mistakes. I think he's been too conservative. I want to see that flying P.O. from a couple of seasons ago, but that's up to the coaches and how they're coaching him. Mike Vellucci and I talked about that a couple of years ago. In fact, during the pandemic, he was kind of giving me what they were working with P.O. on, and P.O. had been told some things in juniors that weren't necessarily conducive to his development. And I think the Penguins coaches at first had to kind of deprogram and untangle some of the stuff that had been put in his head, and we're working through that process. I mean, does the possibility of Letang going deter trading PO? Well, they're lefty and righty, so I really don't think so. I still think they are separate issues because they are lefty and righty. I think if Ron Hextall, given his druthers, would want to keep a 22-year-old defenseman, or is PO only 21? Forgive me. Either way, I think there's still more development to PO, and the Penguins would like to see where that goes. Having said that, if they can get a piece that really makes sense for them for several years, yeah, because look, Sam Poulin and Nathan Legare are having a little bit of trouble in their first professional season. They've been playing better, but they're not in the headlines. I mean, Hollander. By the way, why do you all keep asking if Nylander had the hat trick? Check the Wilkes-Barre Scranton website. Hollander had the hattie Saturday night. Anywho, unless Wilkes-Barre Scranton has someone running their website who doesn't know the players. I mean, I can't say I watched the game. I just I see on the website. I get the press release, and both said Hollander had a hat trick. But Poulin and Legare have a ways to go. They are not. They are not close to the NHL. They're not banging down doors, and this is one of the things that you and I drop some hints occasionally as you and I talk about these things, because it kind of drives me nuts when somebody who's never seen them play, when somebody who just kind of grabs a stat sheet and writes, one of these blogs writes a big, they're top 10 prospects. I could see that guy next year playing in Pittsburgh. Well, how? You grab some YouTube clips, you look at the stat sheet, and you extrapolate based on what you think, you'd want to see, rather than, an in-depth, informed analysis. But everyone thinks, oh, well, he said, the prospect blogger said that it will be in Pittsburgh next year. That's just really not plausible at this point with the way Poulin and Legare are progressing. They're going to need some seasoning down there. If we see Poulin, it would be in a fourth line fill-in role, kind of like Bjorkquist, right? Don't get too attached if they do call him up for that sort of fourth line filler role. Been a long day too. Our friend in Vancouver wants PO and cap for JT Miller. Let me tell you something. If Jim Rutherford or Patrick Allvin calls Ron Hextall and says, okay, you send me Kapanen and Joseph, and I'll send you JT Miller. Kapanen is on the first plane to Vancouver. Let me tell you something. That trade would go down so fast your head would spin. And Allvin would be run out of Vancouver. That's a very Pittsburgh-friendly trade there. Okay, it's 48 minutes. I feel like we're gaining steam, not losing steam. I'd actually hoped to write the report card tonight. I had hoped, at least, to even go for a beer, because I haven't left the house. Well, of course, I covered the Penguins game on Saturday, but I haven't done anything fun in a week. And Sunday nights, when all you amateurs go home, that's when I get to go out and chill in a quiet spot without hearing the screeching of immature children who are just learning how to drink, and the drama and the tears and the running mascara and the bros and all. I don't need any of that crap. Sorry, I probably insulted half my audience there. So last call for questions. We've been over the Penguins game. We've been over the two teams scouting the Penguins, and that was the Buffalo Sabres sent their AGM, Jason Karmanos, who well knows the way to PPG. They sent him for those two home games, and the Anaheim Ducks have been checking in on the Penguins as well. Let me double check. Let me see if there's. I didn't. Nothing jumped out at me. Let me see if there's a third team. Yeah. No, I just see some lower level scouts now covering the game tonight. Although there were two Panthers scouts in attendance. The Penguins have a date with the Panthers coming up, don't they? There's a run through Florida, so discount that one too. All right. So let's see here. Matt says, has Seattle done any more? Done any more what, Matt? Have they played any more hockey games? Yeah. I'm just waiting on you all now. Hey, before you leave, I want to we soldiered through the lack of software tonight. So it's just been me for 50 minutes making facial expressions and mugging for the camera. Has Seattle done any more scouting? Yes, they've done lower level scouting. I haven't seen Jason Botterill at the arena or heard of him coming back around the Penguins. Hey, look, that's how it goes, right? Hextall and Botterill might have had a deep conversation and realized they were that far apart. And to get to that far apart, it was going to hurt more teams than, or hurt their teams more than it would help. Sometimes you say, hey, let's do it. Let's talk again at the draft. Let's, you table things, or it's let me shop around. So all of those things, but no, I haven't seen much more of Seattle since that Boston conversation. Okay, kids, that's it. No mas. I do appreciate you. As always, Yoda and the plant say thank you. Our thoughts, prayers, hopes, and anger go to the people of Ukraine. Keep pushing those bastards back. Get every last one of them if you can. Oh, just wanted to say you appreciate these post-game chats. Thank you, LT. I appreciate you too. One more coming in. So we'll under the wire after I give my little angry Ukraine salute. I can't believe people are actually on Putin's side in this country. What in the hell are you people thinking? These are the people I used to really, anyway, you've got the hard right and the hard left in the same sack. Who would have thought that you'd see those days? Would you consider Kapanen to be a Hagelin 2.0, tons of skill and speed, but always out of sync with his line? Well, I don't think Hagelin was always out of sync with his line. Hagelin didn't have really great scoring touch. Hagelin was really fast. Hagelin would score in the playoffs. Hagelin was just that guy who would score in the playoffs. The regular seasons, he was a 30-point guy. In the playoffs, he was a 30-point guy. That was just him. No, although I guess I do kind of see some similarities between first half season Hagelin and Kasperi Kapanen. I do see that a little bit. Where, you just don't get their best for long stretches. And Hagelin was the same way. He talked about it openly. It would take him to January to get his legs. To which my question was, well, then start playing in August. Figure out something to do. He was like Adam LaRoche, Pirates reference. Okay, now I'm done. Our thoughts and everything go to the people of Ukraine. If you have a chance to donate or support, I just love what those citizens are doing. They are pushing back one of the largest militaries in the world, and they're doing it just to defend their homeland. Go get them. Godspeed. All right, kids. Have a good night. Have fun. I will try to get into the studio, say on Wednesday. If Shelly can take practice on Wednesday, I'll try to jump in then. But life seems to always find something else. So maybe we'll talk soon. Have fun.